Yo, what's up, people? Welcome to my first real video, pretty much. Second attempt, take two here, but I'm sure everything will go fine this time. Um, Anyways, I wanted to share a mechanic I've made for one of my Mcreator mods. This is currently for 1.21.4. I've been porting this over from 1.20.1 because a bunch of shit got updated basically for 1.21.4, and it seems like I'm able to port my whole project now. But anyways, yeah, so I have created a super accurate teleporter system that relies on a global variable. Basically pulls the data that you enter in a GUI text field out of a global variable, and it will search that string for the coordinates you're trying to go, and so on and so forth. But I will show it off here. I guess I'll hop in game. So this is the block here. The SRTP I called it, but it's not. It's supposed to be short range teleporter, but it's not short range at all. Well, let's get into it. So you open up this teleporter, and you're greeted with a nice GUI that I've set up here. Nothing too fancy, but it gets the job done. You set the name, channel, and password of the portal. That's basically the gist of it. So let me set it. You don't really want capitals in this. You can enter pretty much whatever you want. There's a couple characters you can't, but it'll tell you that, so you'll find out for yourself. But you can enter most characters in here, and it'll be just fine. So I'm going to call this grass for now. Channel, I usually use Bravo, and the password will just be 1234. So this will be the info of this portal, and this is the stuff you'll have to enter in this field and another portal in order to get here. I'll show you that in a minute. So now you save that, and you're also greeted with this. So basically what this does is, if you don't want people to be able to see the info you've entered into this portal, then you can require them to enter this password to get into it. So if you press yes, anyone who opens this is going to have to enter the password you set to the portal in order to continue. So you enter the password, log in, now you can see everything. That keeps it nice and secure. I'll press no, just so I don't have to go through that. And then you can see in the bottom left, this is how the info is being saved that you enter. So you got your name, your channel, your password, a delimiter or a separator basically, and then the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, and the Z coordinate. And each of these entries are separated, and that helps a certain procedure call upon this data later. So you'll see, I'm going to create a second portal here. I'll go over here. Root portal over there. Alright, portal number 2. I'll call it sand. So when you're creating a portal network, you also want to keep in mind the channel name. What I've done here is, when you want to go to a portal, you will enter, here I'll set a password first, ABCD, and I'll save that. You can see it's now saved that down here as well with its own separator here, so this is a second entry. So now, you can teleport between these two portals if you enter only the right information. So I want to go to grass, and the password is 1234. And now you can see you don't need to enter the channel because these kind of work off networks. A network is determined by the channel. So since this portal has the channel Bravo saved into it, and the other one over there also has Bravo, these are on the same network. So you only need to know the name and the password of that other portal if they're already in the same network. So this allows for, like, if you have a base with multiplayer going on and you want to have like an admin only room, then you could have then you just have like a different password for that or whatever, and then your members basically they need to know the password and all that to get to a portal. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but now I can go. If you just press go, I'll go to grass. Go to this grass portal. I came from over there, went over here. Press go while nothing's there. I got some text that shows up, but you can just go back and forth willy-nilly. And I want to demonstrate real quick. There doesn't seem to be a range cap. I certainly didn't set one. So we'll go 1,000,000. A million. We'll do that. Looks like I didn't enter high enough Y here, but alright, now we're at 1,000,000. 0.5, I guess. I'll set this name super far. Same channel, obviously. Password super far as well. I'll save that info. You got that added to the list here. And now I can teleport from 1,000,000 to basically, what is it, 0? I'll go to grass. Go. And it'll be a slightly longer teleport, obviously, but so that I'm at, hopefully I'm not showing anything crazy here. Where is it? Almost 0, close enough. Teleporting 1,000,000 blocks. I can go back if I want. What is it? Super far. And go. And just like that, so I thought this was pretty cool, you know. I don't need, whatever, pretend this is a remote. I don't need to right click on this with a remote and then link it to another portal. You know, I never have to interact with another portal as long as I know the name and the password and the channel, I suppose, of said portal. So anyone can go anywhere as long as they know the information of where they're trying to go. You don't have to worry about these buttons. This is just a debugging button and change mode. I built an elevator version of this as well, but that's not really important right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's another, if you try to save, you need vertical clearance to do so. Same thing if you want to teleport to a portal. If there's a block above it, it's not going to let you. If this block is at the world height limit, you cannot teleport there, so that you don't teleport above world height limit. I guess that doesn't really matter. You can be above the world height limit, but you can't save the data because it needs a block. It needs an air block above it, I guess, is how I set it up. Anyways, but yeah, so that is it in action. And now I should show the programs that I've set up here. I'll just go through this one by one, kind of explain stuff. I'm not going to reset up everything because it's going to take too long. I think explaining it will be good enough. So I'll start with the GUI. So I've created this. I've got a couple text fields. I've called them set teleporter name, set teleporter channel, set teleporter password. And this is destination name, destination password. I obviously have the save info button and the button to go to whatever portal you want. And that's basically that. You can make your GUI look like whatever you want, but you need these fields if you want it to be set up kind of like this. So there's that out of the way. And there's also a procedure this runs when you open the GUI, and I guess I'll go over that in a second. So next we have the save data procedure. This is what is used to, well, you guessed it, save your data. Whatever you put in those teleporter name, channel, and password fields, this is how you save it to a global variable. I'll show that as well here. So this is a global variable. I've called it srtp name, channel, passwords, chords. This has to be a string because it includes text, and it has to go to global map. And what I believe this means is that it's saved to a world. It's saved to a world save. It's not saved to a specific dimension, and it's not saved to anything else specific. It's basically only saved to the entire world, no matter the dimensions. So I believe that means you can teleport from the nether to the overworld if you have the information of the portal you want to go to. So you need this global variable, and this is where you'll be saving the name, channel, passwords, and the coordinates of the portals. So what is going on here is I have repeat one times basically. This ensures that I can use breakout of loop. I'm sure there are other ways to cancel running a procedure, but this is the easiest way that I've found. So it only runs this once, and I use breakout of loop if I want to stop the procedure from going any further. So the first part here is so it's checking if the text in the name, channel, password text fields is empty. If you haven't entered a name, channel, or password to the portal to save, then it will tell you you need to set the name, channel, password in order to save info. So it's not going to save anything if those fields are empty. And then I'm just having this send the message to the player in the action bar. And then if these fields are empty, it's going to send the message, it's going to close the GUI, and then it's not going to run anything else. If the fields are not empty, then it will continue. I just have a variable just named whatever. I don't really need them to have super special names. I've just called it E. So this is, what is this doing? This is setting this local variable to create text with whatever you have entered in the name, channel, password text fields. So if you entered like Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, respectively, then this E variable is going to be Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, or whatever you set the name, channel, passwords to. That is going to be this, with no separators, with nothing special. That is the exact thing it is saving. And then it is checking this variable. So the variable being, your name, channel, password. It's checking, is the info that you're trying to set, does it contain these special symbols? Now these special symbols are what I have used to separate the name, channels, and passwords in the global variable here. So you saw that kind of here in the text. So this squiggle separates the name, channel, password from the X coordinate, and then the semicolon separates the X from the Y. And the slash, or not the slash, but the straight bar separates the Y from the Z. And then the, the apostrophe separates entries. So an entry being all info related to a single portal. So that is all separated by this. So you cannot use the squiggle, you can't use the squiggle, the semicolon, the straight bar, or the apostrophe in a name. If you try to do that, then it's going to tell you text may not contain said symbols. And then we'll close the GUI and it will break out of loop. So it's not going to let you do that. If your name, channel, password does not contain any of these symbols, then it will keep running, obviously. It will then check if the block above the portal, if it's an air block or if it's cave air, so that makes sure that regardless if you're in a cave or if you're on the surface, it will continue with this. And it's checking. So if the block above the portal is not air, basically, then it will tell you the teleporter must have vertical clearance to save data. So it's not going to save your name, channel, or password unless the block above it is air. And the reason for that is because in another procedure, I'm not sure why it isn't here, but I was unable to save NBT text data to blocks unless I change the block above it. So, or any adjacent block, really. You can change any adjacent block and it will save the NBT data to the current event block. So basically, if the block above the portal is air, it will continue running this procedure. If the block is a solid block above the portal, it's gonna stop this procedure. It won't allow you to save any data unless the block is air above it. Then it continues. So if the procedure has continued from all of this, then that means you are able to save the data, and it will start preparing for that. So these blocks here, they're saving NBT data. Now they're attempting to save that NBT data to the portal. So the NBT text tags have created 3: SRTP name, SRTP channel, and SRTP password. And it sets these NBT variables of the portal to whatever text is inside the text fields, respectively. So it's going to set SRTP name to whatever you put in the name box, and so on and so forth. And this procedure is meant to run on the button click of save info here. And you can see it's going to run this procedure only when you press that button. So that is why this works, because it's checking whatever you've entered in here, and then when you press this button, it's going to check it, and it'll save it to the portal. It sets the NBT data, and then it saves it to the block. To save it, like I said before, it is it's running a check. If the block above the portal is air, it will place cave air. And if the block above it is cave air, then it will place normal air. This counts as a block being placed. This counts as a change, basically, adjacent to the event block. That allows it to save its NBT data. You can do whatever you want to change the block adjacent, but this seemed like the most simple and effective way without overwriting people's builds next to it. So it sets the NBT data, and I believe that stays until you close the GUI of the block. And then you need to make sure it's doing this, or else you're going to lose your data, basically, there. Then it continues to run after the name, channel, and password have been set for your portal. It runs what? If the global variable does not contain the info you are trying to set to this portal. So basically, if this portal data doesn't already exist on another portal, then it will save this data to the global variable. So if it's not already in the global variable, then it will save it to it. And that is what that's doing. So it's setting the global variable to get the global variable, so that's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's adding text it's basically adding text on top of already existing text. So this makes sure that you're not wiping the global variable every time you're saving data to it. So without this block right here, it would set the global variable to the info of this portal, but it would delete every other saved portal's data. So you need to make sure you're setting the global variable to the global variable plus the new data, if that makes any sense. So basically what this is doing is if the data you are trying to save already exists in your global variable, then it's going to find that data in the global variable. So this one is to find the beginning of the entry in your global variable, and this is to find the ending of the entry that you're trying to save. So it finds the index, which is basically each character in a string is going to have a number attributed to it. So the first character in the string will have 1 assigned to it. The 100th character is obviously going to have the number 100 assigned to it. So this finds the number attributed to the start of the data you're trying to save. So where is this data in the global variable? It could start at the first integer, or the first number in the global variable. It could start at the 1000th character. So it's trying to find that out, basically. And this is finding the ending. How it does that, it searches from the beginning of where the save data was found, and from that data it finds the apostrophe, which is the character I've used to separate entries of portal save data. So it found the data of the old portal that matches the info that you have entered and tried to save, and then it saves it saves that data to a local variable. So now you have the information that you're trying to save saved along with the new set of chords. And I guess that's it. It's saving just the new set of chords on top of that. And it does all this so that way you can overwrite the old version, because I don't want, or you, whoever, doesn't want multiple entries of saved data for portals with the exact same name, channel, and password. So instead of like deleting and replacing it, this is basically replacing the old data. So if it found a portal with the data that you're trying to save on in this new portal, it's going to replace that. If that makes sense. That was kind of a chore to explain, but yeah. Okay, so what this section is doing is it finds this new local variable inside of your global variable, which is the old save data of the portal that shares data, or that shares the same information that you are currently trying to save to a new portal. So it finds the old data in the global variable and it overwrites that with the new data. So basically the old portal, it will still have its NBT data saved to it, but it will be overwritten in the global variable. So that means you cannot teleport to the old one until you reset that info. Either change it or replace again. Hopefully that made sense. And then that is basically the end here. After you've saved your data, after you press the save button and save, if you have not set that ask for password property yet, it's checking if the property hasn't been set, then it will ask you if you want to ask for the password, yes or no. And that is basically a wrap of that. Hopefully I explained that alright, probably not. So that is how it is saving the data with this button here. Alright, now let's go over the teleport procedure, the actual procedure that runs when you press go here. So, open that up. I have obviously the repeat block again, but it's only running once. And again, that's just so I can end the procedure under certain conditions here. Let's start at the top here. So first it's checking if the info in destination name, password, and channel, if it's empty, then we're just going to stop the procedure there. It's going to tell you you can't warp when there's no destination info. But if the destination fields are filled in, then it will continue, obviously. Then it proceeds to check if the global variable does not contain the information that you've entered in the destination fields, then that means the destination doesn't exist, and it tells you as much, and it breaks out of loop. Then it goes, if the global variable does contain your destination info, then it starts setting some local variables. First local variable it sets is index of NCP. Basically, it's finding the beginning of the destination info in your global variable, and then index of chords is finding the ending of the info entry for your destination. So to make it a little easier to understand, maybe open this again. So it's finding the beginning and the ending of the entry. So let's say you press go from grass, Bravo 1 2 3 4. You want to teleport from here to sand. So when you press go, it's searching the string for the beginning of the location. So that would be here. It searches for sand, Bravo, ABCD, if that's what you enter in the destination field. So the index of sand, Bravo, ABCD, it would start at the S. The index of sand, Bravo, ABCD would start at S. And then the index of chords what I have it set to is to find this apostrophe. So it finds the index of the beginning, which is this S, and the index of the ending, which is this apostrophe. And then it takes all of the text between those two, and it saves it, which is the name, channel, password, in the coordinates set portal. So it takes that data and it saves it to a local variable I just called ABCDEFG. Doesn't matter. You can see, so it takes the text inside of the global variable from the index of the name, channel, password, and index of chords, which again is from this, let's say, this S and this apostrophe throughout this entire string. So it now knows it's found your destination, and it knows the name, channel, password, and where you're trying to go, basically, if that makes any sense. Next, after you have set A, B, C, D, E, F, G to the substring of the destination from within your global variable, which is a big step in this, then it begins to pull the coordinates out of your local variable. So now that you have all the information of your destination isolated and saved, it needs to separate the X, Y, and the Z so that it can call upon that later, which is, I guess, here, so that you can set the local variable X, Y, and Z. So for these three numbers, obviously starting with index of X, you need to find where the first squiggle is inside this new isolated data, your local variable. So you find the index of the squiggle, that's where the X coordinate will begin, and then you find the location of X2, or you find the location of the semicolon, which saves as a number to X2, and this is the ending of the X coordinate and the beginning of the Y coordinate, and then you're saving the number Y2, which is the straight line, which is the ending of the Y coordinate and the beginning of the Z coordinate. And you don't need another one technically, because the Z coordinate obviously starts from here and it ends when the substring ends, or your ABCDEFG local variable ends. So you could use the apostrophe ending, but you don't need to. Then you are setting, now that you know where the X, Y, and Z coordinates lie within your substring, you can isolate those to a text variable. So that is what these three do. It's setting your X, Y, and Z, isolating them from the positions that you have saved to X, X2, and Y2. But here is a little bit of math. So when you find the index of X here, which is where the X coordinate starts, it's actually finding, if you didn't have the math, then X would be squiggle and then the X coordinates. So what you want to do is you want to take the index or the location of the squiggle, and you want to increase that by 1, so that way it starts at the beginning of your X coordinate and it doesn't include the squiggle. Same thing for the start of Y. You want to make sure that from the ending of the X and the beginning of the Y coordinate, you increment that by 1, so you're only recording the Y coordinate and nothing extra. And same thing with Z. Take the ending of Y and the beginning of Z and plus 1. That way you're not adding this straight line. Okay, we got some zombies moaning in my ear. Get rid of that for now. Now you have your X, Y, and Z isolated, and you have the name, channel, and password isolated as well. So now you know where you're going, or the game knows where you're trying to go, and it knows that you know where you're trying to go. After that, then it checks, is the block above your destination air? If it's not air, then there's a suffocation risk. It tells you as much, and it cancels the whole procedure because it doesn't want to teleport you. You don't want people building traps with these things, right? So that's what I did. But because this not is here, that means if the block above is error, it will continue. Then it will check, is the block above, or is the destination block you're trying to go to, is it a portal? Now I don't remember why this is here, but it's just a check to make sure that the location you're going to has a portal there. Because I think if you break a portal, then its info is still saved into the global variable. So when you enter that as a destination, you would still be able to go there even if the portal was broken. So this makes sure that there's a portal at your location, your destination location. And then the actual teleport, after all this. You set the location of the target entity, which is you, in this case, to the pos X, pos Y, and pos Z. So the location of the portal. But what's important is these seem to save as, or they save as, is whole number the right word? It saves as a rounded number. So the middle of a block is actually like 10.5, 10.5 instead of 10, 10. 10, 10 is like at the corner of a block. So you take the pos X that you've saved, you take the position, the X coordinate of your destination, and you add plus 0.5 so that you would be in the middle of the block. Same for pos Z. And then when you teleport to your destination, you're also technically going to teleport inside of the destination block. So if your portal is a whole block, you would want to take pos Y and add plus 1. That way you spawn above the portal block and not inside of it. But since my portal is only like a quarter block, I incremented it by exactly how much I needed to. And then when you teleport to this block, closes the GUI and you've teleported. And those are the main important things, the saving the data and teleporting. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of this now. Moving on, now there's just a couple extras that I have set up. We'll start with the GUI because the other things are going to rely on this stuff. So we'll start with ask for password. So this shows up when you press this save data button, save info. It's going to save this no matter what when you press save info, and then it's going to pull this up. Well, I'll explain it in a little bit, but when you press it, it's going to pull this up, and you say, do you want to require the password? The next time you open it, yes or no, or don't ask again. And then you have enter password. So this is the GUI that opens when you click on a portal that is set to require a password to open. So yeah, so those are the two GUIs you'll need if you want to set up the extra security. And then next this is really important as well. You have to set this up. This is for another time. I'm just gonna move this out of the way for now. So, or no, not this one. This is not what I meant. On open SRTP GUI. So when you open this GUI for a portal that has data set to it, these fields are going to be empty. It's not going to fill these text fields in for you. And so you have to add some way for the GUI to fill that stuff in. And that's what this feature down here is. When the GUI is opened, you use on open SRTP GUI. So this is stuff that runs when you open the GUI of a portal. So when you do open the GUI of a portal, this is what it's doing. It's waiting one tick before doing this. This is important because if you don't wait before doing this, it's just not going to work. Because it would try to run this immediately when you try to open a GUI, and it's just too quick. So you need to wait a certain amount of time. 1 tick seems to be enough for me. Sometimes it won't fill in. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for it to be this quick. If you set it to 2, you shouldn't have any issues. But 1 is perfectly fine. If the TPS is super low for your server, then I think you need to set this higher. But what this does is it's filling the text field set teleporter channel, set teleporter password, and set teleporter name. So it's filling these back in with the data that you have set to the portal, that you have saved to the portal. So that means if you haven't set anything when you open the portal, they're going to be empty, obviously. But if the portal has a channel, password, and name set to it, it's going to pull that info from its NBT data, and it's going to load it into this. So that is how, when I click on this portal, it's loading this info in. If I didn't have that set up, these fields would be empty. The data would still be saved to it. You could still teleport between portals, but you'd have to have their info memorized. These would not fill in. So you want to make sure that you have this procedure running when you open this specific GUI, or any GUI that you want to have text appear in a text field that you didn't write in there yourself. Alright, moving on, now the actual optional stuff. We'll start with, just reopen this for consistency. So you have OpenSRTP GUI and OpenSRTP GUI 2. So to start, again, I gotta move this out of the way, so that's for another time. So this specific procedure runs when it runs on a trigger when you right-click on the portal. So on block right-clicked, open SRTP GUI. That's what I have going on here. I know you can set in block entity, open bound GUI and right-click. This tends to cause some issues for me, so I don't usually do it like this. And it's harder to get certain conditions to run when you open GUIs this way. So I just use a trigger like this. It's pretty much the same thing. But when you right click on the portal, it runs this first. So what this does is, if require password is set to yes, so that means if, go back here real quick, if you press yes in this GUI, then it will open this GUI, enter password. So yeah, so if you've told it to ask for the password, it will ask for password before opening. Else if require password is set to no, so you press no, don't ask for the password every time you open. Or if the SRTP password is blank, so that means the portal has no password set to it. So you couldn't, I guess you could technically save it as empty and still say require password, but then you could just enter password with the field empty and it would just log in like that. Or if require password is set to empty, so that means if you like pressed escape, or if you pressed escape in this GUI, just closed it without pressing yes or no, then it will continue. If either of these conditions here are met, then it will open the SRTP GUI directly. So basically, if you don't need to enter the password to get into the portal, then that's exactly what it'll do. It'll open the password it'll open the portal without asking for the password. And then we have open SRTP GUI 2. And this, when this runs, is if open SRTP GUI sent you to the enter password GUI, this specific procedure runs when you click login. So this is how you open this GUI when you press login. That's how you get between those. If you were required to enter a password to open it. So what it does is it checks if the information you entered here in the password section matches what the set password is of the portal, or if the password you enter does not match the password of the portal, then it says incorrect password and it closes the GUI. But if you enter the correct password in the GUI, then if the block is a portal, I don't know why it's running this, but again, I'm sure it's here for a reason. If the block you're interacting with is the portal, then you will open the GUI for it. So that is how you handle opening this SRTP GUI, depending on if it's asking for a password or not. So that is that. And then the only procedures left are the ones that set the, I'll start here. So this is SRTP ask for password yes. So this procedure runs, not here, but, so this procedure runs when you press the yes button in require password. It checks real quick if the blocks above the portal are error. This is again in order to change an adjacent block to save NBT data to it, because it has to save yes for the required password NBT data. Same thing with no. So it's checking if the blocks above are not error, it must have vertical clearance to save, and it breaks out a loop. Otherwise, it sets the NBT, so otherwise meaning if the blocks above it are indeed error and can be changed, then it sets the NBT text tag require password to yes. So that means you want the portal to ask for the password every time you open it. And then it saves the data by changing the error block above it to a different type of error block, and then it closes the GUI. So this is how you save yes when you press yes here. So that way the OpenGUI procedures can call upon this NBT text tag, if that makes sense. So that's the yes, and then the no and the don't ask again are pretty much the same. It just sets require password to no, and it sets NBT text tag don't ask again. This has to be different. So when you press don't ask again, in this case you have to press it before you select yes or no. So it sets don't ask again to Q. Basically, it doesn't matter. You can make it whatever, because when whatever procedure calls upon it to see if you press don't ask again, it just checks if don't ask again is empty or not. If it's empty, that means it will ask again. If it's not empty, that means you press the button and it will not ask again. And then it saves that data. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully I did a good job explaining all that stuff. Hopefully this helps someone set up a cool portal. Hopefully this is info that is actually new. I thought this was really cool. I thought, it was really hard for me to find all this info, so I wanted to share it with other people. That way they don't go through this same struggle I did of trying to figure out how the hell to do something like this. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I'm sure I'll have another video out sometime on something else cool.